Hey everybody, welcome to Maryanne Live. We're so glad you're with us today. I'm Maryanne Comaroto, back again with us, author of 1,500,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 books. Eric Maisel is joining us again. Actually, we know that's not true. Nobody's written that many books. Although Eric might be the first person who can claim he's written over 30 books in this little neck of the woods over here at Maryanne Live about being a creative person. Eric has run the gamut for us on exhausting all the possible excuses creative people come up with to not do what they're called to do. And that's one of the reasons we keep having him back on the show. We love Eric. Why Smart People Hurt is what we're going to be talking about today, the title of Eric's new book for this hour on Maryanne Live. But we want you to know something that we think is an epic moment in radio history in the 20th century, and that's that Eric does not have a cell phone. We think this is a really important point of fact here, that he's been able to hold out for, I don't even know. I want to start the interview there when we bring him on in just a minute. For those of you who are joining us streaming live, you can see Eric right now is on a phone, a banana phone. And some people still have banana phones. Some of the young people are like, what?
It's a good phone.
What is a banana phone? It's a good phone. As a matter of fact, in the radio industry, banana phones, the old school connections, have the most bandwidth that's reliable from what we understand. So, Eric, we won't hold it against you. We love you. We're so glad you're here. Especially all the smart people, okay?
You said 20th century, and that's where I am. That's why I don't have a cell phone. I'm in the 20th
That's
century.
right. That's why I said that, and not the 21st century.
Exactly.
For those of us who thank you for catching that point that, I didn't go boom, but, I was hoping someone was paying attention. Well, for those of us, like, I actually really resonate with, the 17th century. I don't know, I love all of that very, dragging your silk dress in the mud on your way to a ball. It's intriguing to me. I'm interested in that. We each have the things that we resonate with, and we're going to talk about that too this hour, believe it or not. The way we're born, the way we come into the planet, natural psychology posits that we all don't show up a blank slate, right? That we come here with a personality, with different quirks, with different sensibilities. We're going to talk more about that this hour. We're going to talk about psychology in general, natural psychology, what that means. This is the foundation for Eric's work, the vast body of work that he's devoted to. This book in particular is devoted to smart people, this particular way that people incarnate or are born on the planet that have a sense or have been told that they are a very particular way. And you smart people know who you are. And we're going to identify the ones who might think that doesn't fit them, but boy, you might be surprised to find this hour that you fall into this category where Eric is going to be talking about some of the challenges, the special challenges that smart people have. I'll have you know, if you haven't already figured out, I'm sure that this does not pertain to me, but I do have a special role in being around a lot of smart people, so I'll do the best I can this hour. So joining us, let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, you know what, I'm going to stop myself. See, I'm so silly that I forgot to do what I love to do. If you're just joining us for the first time, I love to invite folks to take an audible breath. Let's all get here. Most of us are going 1,000 miles an hour, thinking that we have to check this or that off our list. I know you come here to this program because it's important for you how you are in relationship with yourself, your body, your soul, and your mind. And one of the ways we connect in at Maryanne Live is we take an audible breath. Go ahead and let yourself have the gift of your own attention. Listen to your sounds. You might notice if you've brushed your teeth recently when you make that audible breath. Whatever the case, just turning your attention inwards gives you a moment to become what I call internally referenced or connected to the things that are important or meaningful. Some of you might think, oh my God, please don't make me turn my attention inwards. It's crazy in there. I like to stay focused elsewhere. Well, breathe anyway and make it down your list of folks that you are grateful for, that make it possible for you to do what you're doing right now, for what you've done all day long, morning or night, wherever you're finding yourself right now in the continuum of your rhythm, right, your circadian rhythm. My list is so long, but it includes two folks that we just have to talk about right off the top, the Open Secret Bookstore in San Rafael, California, who helped make this show possible. We love Open Secret Bookstore because we like touching books, some of us. We like smelling them. We like Eric's book. If you went online, you couldn't do this. You couldn't feel that really sheeny kind of, I don't know, sort of, there's a sheen to the book. You couldn't smell the pages, right? I love the smell of books. If you like that, Open Secret Bookstore is for you, and you never know who you're going to find in there, by the way. I love to say that Carlos Santana, someday he's going to find me and go, quit telling people that I go to Open Secret Bookstore. It's like the only place on the planet where he gets to have any privacy. I'm just saying, very creative and wonderful folks like yourselves like to troll around Open Secret Bookstore. Also, the National Action Organization, helping change the way our culture values each other. They make this program possible. If you want more information about them, check them out online. NACTION.org for more information. All right, everybody's breathing. You're feeling grateful. You're like, what are you doing on at 2 in the afternoon, Maryanne? You're really bugging me. I don't like change. Well, here we are. This is the time where a lot of folks have hormone dips on the West Coast at 2 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock. You are pushing at the clock, waiting to get out of there so you can sit in traffic and get home and have your Manhattan. For those of you who are listening abroad, you've just finished dinner, and you know that you're so excited to hear what Eric has to say. And for those of you who are beyond time listening, and it's 3 in the morning and beyond, we know that you are serious as a listener. We know that you cannot wait to hear what Eric has to say. And all y'all together, we're gonna put our hands together and invite back author Eric Maisel. He's written a fabulous book that we're going to talk about this hour. The challenges smart and creative people have is what Eric's new book is addressing this hour. And just to tell you a little bit about Eric, if you don't mind if I toot your horn while you're holding that banana phone up to your head there, it's getting tired. You can do some calisthenics with your phone, right? While I toot your horn a little bit. The challenge is smart and creative people, from scientific researchers, Genius Award winners to best-selling novelists, Broadway actors, high-powered attorneys, and academics, encounter often include racing brain syndrome, living in an anti-intellectual culture, finding ideas worth loving, dealing with boredom and hypersensitivity, finding meaning in their lives and their work, and struggling to achieve success. That's what this book about. Is about, that Eric's written for us to enjoy, to devour, to learn from, really. Eric has founded the profession of creativity coaching, and he's written over 40 books. I always say 30, and then he corrects me. It happens every time. For somehow in my brain, because I'm not one of the smart people, the number 30 is stuck in my neural pathway, and that's what keeps coming out. Well, anyway, for
your age, correct?
Yes. Shh, don't tell anyone. Thank you. Celebrated 37 years of marriage. Very few people can say that. We love that about you. And we're going to talk about your marriage, by the way, because we want the secret. We wonder if it's that you're so busy writing books all the time that she doesn't have a chance to get mad at you. Right?
Every single book is dedicated to her. That's the whole game.
That's it. That's the ticket. And in midlife, he returned to school and earned a second bachelor's degree in psychology, a second master's degree in counseling, and a doctorate in counseling psychology. Thank goodness he did, because I'll tell you, welcome back to the program, Eric, although most of you are listening to him chuckle in the background. We're glad to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we think you're one of the most brilliant people we know here, and no doubt you have been able to tap into a marketplace that so many people talk about, literally, I can't, not a day goes by where some creative person isn't struggling in some way to make sense of their creativity in a world filled with so much information, and your devotion to helping the creatives of the world sort this all out is really remarkable, Eric. So we're so glad.
Can I go somewhere right off the bat?
Go there now.
You're talking about breathing and intention. Here's an interesting thing about the creative life. So all day long we're supposed to get things right, drive on the correct side of the road, pick up our kids at 3, etc. And that's pretty reasonable to get things right. And then some moments are supposed to come where we have real permission to make big mistakes and messes. Somehow that creative moment is supposed to come out of nowhere in this day where we're getting things right all day long. So I think a really smart ceremonial bridge from getting things right to having permission to make mistakes and messes is to do some breathing, 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale, and drop in a useful thought into that deep breath. I call them incantations to distinguish them from affirmations just because of the breathing component, but they're really affirmations dropped into a breath. And the one that I think makes sense for the thing we're talking about is I am completely, on the inhale, stopping. I'm completely stopping. What is it I'm stopping? I need to get things right. That's a ceremonial bridge into your creative stint, into your morning writing practice, is to actually stop your need to get things right and remind yourself. It's very hard for people to do. Remind yourself about the reality of process, that you may be about to spend 2 years on a book that doesn't work. Nobody wants to hear that, but we only have grown-ups listening today. So we're going to talk to grown-ups about how process is process. It has its own reality. And so we have to show up without attaching to the outcome we hope for. We can have goals, ambitions, dreams, but we have to show up without attaching to the outcome, because this may not be one of the things that works in our creative life. It's hard for people to want to hear that. But once you begin to understand that you're creating a body of work, whatever that work is, could be activism, could be whatever it is, you're creating a body of work, that your meaning needs don't end when this project ends. When you get that bigger picture of a body of work, then you can be a little less attached to the thing in front of you, which may or may not work.
Well, this is a really interesting context, because I think the doing it right conversation that so many people have, and it spans probably every Western person that I've ever spoken to. It seems to be pandemic in the Western culture. I'm not sure if it spans beyond our culture. Can we talk about that? It seems to be the American thing, not necessarily just a Western thing, but specifically an American thing, doing it right. Well, what's that about?
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense to want to do things right. So I don't think that's unreasonable. What's hard for people to understand is that there is a reality to process. And the desire to do things right, while completely reasonable, still can't trump the reality of process. If pundits claim that Beethoven's first, third, fifth, seventh, and ninth symphonies are better than his second, fourth, sixth, and eighth, who knows? But you can't do 9 without 8, you can't do 8 without 7. You can't skip the things that don't work. And that's every human being's desire, is to skip the things that don't work. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to want to get things right, but then you must understand not to attach to the outcome. Super simple example, if you have your 1 week vacation a year, and you've chosen to go to a sunny place because you've read that it's sunny 343 days of the year, why not want that? Why not dream about your sunny vacation? But if when you're getting there, you see the raindrops falling, you have to let go of that desire for a sunny vacation instantly and have a wonderful rainy day vacation. So both things are true. You can want the sunny vacation. I don't think there's anything wrong in attaching or wanting or having hopes or dreams or ambitions, but then you have to face reality and deal with it. And if it's not a sunny day, then you move to a different place in your being.
Now, this seems like an idyllic way of thinking. I think it makes sense to think this way and to organize our experience this way if we want to suffer less. Like what I'm hearing you say makes sense. Yet, we see a lot of not that, right? We see a lot of people pushing up against...
mostly not that.
Yeah.
But we also see mostly folks not thinking thoughts that serve them.
Yeah.
So we mostly see that. One of the ideas I'd like to sell as quickly as I can to folks is that we don't even have to countenance true thoughts if they do not serve us. The measure of whether we want to be thinking a thought is whether it serves us, not whether it's true or false. For example, let's say you're a writer and you have the idle thought just passes in your head, boy, there are a lot of writers out there. Man, there are 1 trillion writers out there writing 1 trillion books. Maybe you're walking through a bookstore and you just kind of get overwhelmed by the number of books. Well, it's completely a true thought that there are a lot of writers out there, and it's completely a thought that doesn't serve you. What will happen is you have that thought idly on a Monday, and Wednesday you stop writing, and you have no idea why you stopped writing. And you stopped writing because on Monday you idly have the thought, wow, there are a lot of writers out there. Mm-hmm. So we have to be very careful of allowing thoughts to fester even if they are true. Mm-hmm. And we may have talked about this before. Simple procedure. If you hear a thought that you kind of have some tingle down the spine that's not going to serve you, I think every writer who hears that thought, boy, there are a lot of writers out there, they know that's not going to serve them. If you get this tingle down the spine, you have to dispute that thought instantly. You have to go, I'm going to scream a little now, no! No thought, I do not want you. And then you need to substitute whatever is kind of your global affirmation, like I'm perfectly fine, or I'm getting back to work, or I love my work, or I love me, or whatever it is. That 3-step process of noticing thoughts, disputing the ones that don't serve you, and substituting your lifelong affirmation, yeah, that's work. Kind of like arm wrestling thoughts to the ground, that's work. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of actually doing it is that the thoughts that don't serve you start to be extinguished over time. That thought that doesn't serve you doesn't even bother to rise up after a while because it knows you're going to arm wrestle it to the ground, so why bother?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things that's really important to reiterate here for folks is the idea that whether or not the thought is true, there's a big distinction here regarding whether or not the thought serves you. And this is something that I love that you talk about over and over again for those of us who are trying to organize and be more disciplined with our thinking, Eric. You know, for example, yeah, there are a lot of writers out there. It's not serving me to think about it, but it's true, and oftentimes people think just because something's true, they have to throw their hands up in the air. That's one story, one lie that we tell ourselves, right?
We get held hostage by true thoughts. It's a shame that we get so held hostage. And I think it's part of our endowment about being a good boy or a good girl. Somehow makes us a good person to believe in the veracity of true things, but it doesn't.
Right. Well, if you're just joining us on MaryanneLive, Eric Maisel is back. He's got his new book out, Why Smart People Hurt. We're going to be talking this hour about the particular challenges, the special challenges the smart person has dealing and coping with their creativity, their thinking mind, and so forth. And before I ask you the question to sort of list some of the challenges that smart people have, and I love that you've illustrated them in your book in terms of a list of 15 sort of points that we're going to get to. Will you remind folks who don't know or who have forgotten what it is that natural psychology is in terms of a context? Because that's your meta container for your work, Eric, I think it's important to set that up before we get too far.
Sure. It's my experience of the history of psychology that meaning and life purpose have been left out of our examination of what it means to be human. Existential psychology tried it a bit, but actually fell a little bit short, didn't quite meet the challenge. But apart from existential psychology, nobody, and certainly not psychiatrists dispensing medication, nobody is asking the question, what's important to you? What are your life purposes? Do you know? Have you made life purpose choices? Do you understand meaning? Do you understand that meaning is a certain kind of psychological experience that you can create? Mm-hmm. Do you know that there's a paradigm shift to be made from seeking meaning to making meaning. There's a lot of stuff that folks don't know that psychology is not included or been interested in. And those are the underpinnings of natural life.
Beautiful. When we come back after the break, we're going to go from there to talking about the special challenges that smart people have. For those of you who will be staying with us, you get a behind-the-scenes glimpse. Eric and I mashing about, munching around, talking behind the scenes about his book and what's going on in Eric's private life. You can check that out on MaryanneLive.com right now. For the rest of you, we'll be back right after these messages. All right. Thank you, Jay. All right, so here's a personal question, and I sort of was alluding to this a little bit, Eric, and my producer's creeping in here. She wants to see what you're going to say. You've had a 37-year marriage, and as a relationship activist, I'm fascinated not only by sort of the longevity factor that some people have in relationship, but the sort of the happy marriages, the folks that are just happy to still be together. And I don't mean happy like superficial. I mean, this is my best friend. I'm really enjoying this relationship. I know that's the kind of relationship you've had. You've told me before, but what is your secret? What's held you two together for so long?
Well, when I make a joke out of it or give a semi-non-reply, I think it is a matter of luck in some ways. We're both low maintenance. We're both super low.
That's funny. What does that mean? Like you don't wear designer clothes or what?
We don't create dramas where there aren't dramas that are needed to be created.
Yeah.
We don't make work for each other out of the relationship. All the cliches, we are best friends. I only need one person in life, really. I don't need a circle of friends, which probably serves the marriage because I don't go straying, because I don't need a circle of friends. So I need one person. She only needs one person. She doesn't really like, neither of us like people all that well.
There it is. We like each other.
Liking one person.
Pair bonding by Eric Maisel, right? The secret to success. You don't like people, find that one person in 7 billion. Yeah.
Why people who don't like people do well.
Right, that's the title of your next book, right? Well, there might be something to that. They're isolating all the genes in the neurobiological realm now, right? That set people up for better pair bonding than others. So maybe we'll split your brain open when you're gone, huh? What do you think about that?
That's
right.
Are
you going to donate your brain to science, Eric?
I think it's going to be awfully dead at some point. Don't you?
I don't know. I don't know. These guys seem to think not.
I'm afraid that's part of what natural and natural psychology is that we come and go.
All right, here we go. We're going back. We're going back on the air, everybody who's joining us on streaming. Eric Maisel is in the house. Thanks for joining us on Maryanne Live. We're glad you are here. Eric has written over 40 books. He is the consummate go-to psychologist for all you creative types. That's why you keep tuning in again and again. Creative people have special concerns. Now, there are more creative people on the planet than we think. Oftentimes people hear those terms and think, yeah, that's not me. And then they find out, lo and behold, you are a closet creative. We all have creative bones in our bodies, says Eric. But this particular body of work that he's brought forward is about the smart people out there. The ones that feel like, my goodness, I am just the smartest person in the room, I can't relate to anybody, to running the other extreme of folks who know that something is different about them, yet they grew up in an environment or a family that didn't really honor and respect that kind of sensitivity or smart sense that you might have. And Eric's going to talk about that a little bit. But we're going to start with, and you've given us a context for the psychological orientation you come from, which you call natural psychology, opposed to, Jungian or cognitive behavioral psychology. Natural psychology is a different psychological context. It's based on a particular kind of meaning making. For more information about that, you can check out Eric's site. But let's talk specifically about the challenges that smart people have. And you've got a list of 15 questions that I think are wonderful. I've made a few notes. But what are some of your favorites or the ones that come to mind so people know what you're talking about?
Probably the biggest, if it's fair to call any bigger than any other, is the fact that naturally enough, a smart person is going to set her brain off racing to solve her life problems and to live, because that's what being smart means in part, is using your brain, allowing your brain to operate. So when you send your brain racing, it turns out that this model of our species doesn't come with an off switch. Kind of would be nice if we did come with an off switch and then we could have a good night's sleep after a beautiful day of thinking, but that's not the way it is. So all sorts of problems arise simply by virtue of the fact that we set our brain racing. One kind of problem is insomnia. We have an 80 or 90 million person insomnia epidemic in America. Either people having trouble getting to sleep or people waking up abruptly. That's in part a feature of not being able to turn our brain off. Probably the most poignant feature of a racing brain with no off switch is the way in which we veer towards unproductive obsession. The way in which we keep pestering ourselves with negative self-talk and brood and become one of those Swedish philosophers and have trouble living life easily because we're doing so much brooding and self-pestering. This connects to ideas we talked about earlier about meaning making. If you have a clear picture of what I call meaning opportunities, namely, oops, I have to put something here. Sorry, my Skype acted up for a second.
Not to worry.
If you have this menu of meaning opportunities where you've made notes to yourself of those things which provoke the psychological experience of meaning in you, might be creating, might be relationships, might be activism. For any human being, it might be a different array of meaning opportunities. When you begin to understand that for yourself, then you can look at your menu and say, I want to productively obsess about X, about my novel, rather than unproductively obsess about all the nonsense I obsess about.
Yeah, you're going to have to give us an example of that.
What's a productive obsession working
Yes.
on your novel?
Right.
Let me give you a little bit of context and why I find so many of the ideas of psychology trifling troublesome. Obsession got usurped by psychologists in about the 1880s as a negative word. It got defined as an intrusive, unwanted thought. Well, as soon as you define something as an intrusive, unwanted thought, that's something you don't want. So all obsessions have been looked at as negative for the last 130 years. And so we haven't had a really good opportunity to think smartly about what productive obsessions might look like. And not just what they might look like, but how they might operate in a full life. Because you don't want to not pick up your kids at 3. You don't want to not do things by virtue of the fact that you're productively obsessing about something. So let me just paint a little picture. Many people don't get to their creative work because they're merely interested in it, and that's not motivation enough. Mere interest is not like passion or productive obsessing.
Right.
Tons of people are merely interested in things. They start a novel, they start a painting, they buy supplies, they take a class, they don't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere. Because they don't actually know how to obsess, and they find the idea of productively obsessing dangerous. So here's a new model where you institute, let's call it a morning obsession practice, a morning creativity practice, where you actually bite into something important to you, activism, creativity, your home business, anything that actually matters to you, you bite into it, but you learn how to stop it so that you can return to the rest of life with strength, so that any mania you're creating in yourself is a mediated mania, where you're still in charge of your, as best as one can be, in charge of your racing brain. This is kind of a whole picture of how one turns one's brain on. Smart person's going to do that.
Yeah.
Turn their brain on, and then modulate it.
Yeah.
Be in charge, to use the Buddhist phrase I may have said it already on this show or have said it before. Get a grip on your mind.
Yeah. Right.
It's our job to get a grip on our own mind, even when we send it racing.
It's very different than the idea of the muse, for example.
Yes.
You know, this kind of thinking, and you talk about it in the book, this kind of orientation towards meaning that happens outside of you, these sort of mystical experiences, a muse experience, which is a very popular way for creatives to kind of orient themselves, right? I'm just not inspired right now, and I'm having writer's block, etc.
Yeah, my favorite quote on that is Tchaikovsky's, which is, I'm inspired every fifth day, but I only get that fifth day if I show up the other four.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's right. There's a truth about inspiration. It does happen. One of the ideas about thinking is what's called remote associates, namely the ability of the brain to combine two previously uncombined things.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a duck over here and a skyscraper over here, and you invent a duck-shaped skyscraper or something. Well, that's a kind of inspiration, but you don't get that unless you're an architect thinking about skyscrapers,
right.
Unless there's a container
right.
for your thinking.
Right.
So inspiration is real, but you don't earn it if you're not working.
Right. Absolutely. Well, some other folks are out there, okay, well, they're thinking, okay, I kind of appreciate that. What are some other challenges smart people have? I've asked a few of them. One of them that I really appreciated is dealing with that racing brain is sort of the one we just talked about, that sort of obsessive kind of thinking. But living in a society, in a world that does more than disparage smartness, that actually silences smart people, because the power and privilege of leaders, and they're undercut by smart people like you pointing out fraud, illogic, and injustice. Talk a little bit about that, our culture, our Western culture.
Well, there's our particular American culture where it is, and this is a big point, where it's safer than in other places to have a thought. That is still one of our traditions, to have some safety in having a thought here. But historically and worldwide, it was physically dangerous to have a thought. And maybe we'll stop there for a second.
Yeah, we'll jump back again. We're going to break. Those of you who are going to stay with us streaming live, MaryanneLive.com is where you can watch the program. Those of you just listening, tuning in all over the different parts of the world, we're so glad you joined us. Come back. Eric Maisel and I are going to be talking about his new book, some more, Why Smart People Hurt. We know you're one of them. Come back and join us after these messages. Yeah, so you were saying, and we can flop back over that, Eric, that it's dangerous to think out loud. It's dangerous to have smart thoughts out loud. We've lost a lot of people in our culture because of it. Given a voice to their smart thinking.
That's right.
It's an important point.
We can, if you want to go to semi-popular culture, the movie Hannah Arendt that's out.
Yeah.
That's exactly a case study of somebody daring to say an unpopular thing, and being completely ostracized.
Absolutely. So some of the other points that you were bringing up and that are illustrated in your book, possessing good ideas, but because of the power of structure and practices of your work environment, not having a way to implement them. What do you mean by that?
Business doesn't really want creative individuals. They want innovation and problem solving, but not genuine creativity. So most businesses will not allow an individual to do anything with the smart thought they may have about changing a practice, or whistleblowing, or seeing through something, or what have you. Most institutions are not interested in the smart thought of the members of that institution.
Right.
Every institution has its ruling class that doesn't want to hear. In my world, it's about not wanting to hear about the illogic of mental disorders,
sure,
and what have you.
So you're around that enough, or over time, and you start to sort of feel squelched or thwarted, and smart people feel particularly thwarted by that kind of environment, right?
And life loses its meaningfulness because you know that you have a meaningful contribution to make.
And I imagine a lot of folks listening are thinking, wow, I can see the association there with anxiety and depression, which we've talked about those very loosely. Depression, which is a catch-all in our culture for various things. But another one we want to point out here is feeling sadder than other people by virtue of your ability to comprehend the facts of existence. This is a very interesting point, a challenge that smart people have. Talk about this, Eric.
Let me back up 1 second to your intro from several minutes ago about natural psychology taking an interest in what I call original personality and taking the point of view that we don't arrive as a blank slate. I think anybody who's had kids or kittens or puppies or what have you understands that we come with our individual endowment. Well, in the Middle Ages, there was the idea that human beings came in four flavors, 4 humors.
Right.
One of which was melancholia. So there was a vision from the Middle Ages.
Okay, we're about to return.
Hold that thought. That's how we roll here on MaryanneLive. We're going to be back streaming and listening on MaryanneLive. Patting your head and rubbing your tummy with Eric Maisel is in the house. Why smart people hurt. We are right in mid-sentence talking about being born a blank slate. You have a particular flavor you're born with. Eric was just describing that once upon a time in the Hippocratic world, you had the 4 humors, right? We were thought to possess one of those sort of traits of personality. Eric, I cut you off there. Finish your thought.
Sure. And one of those 4 traits was melancholia, which I think we can safely call sadness, and which the mental health world would want to call depression. Let's think about that for a second. What if a quarter of the human race is born sadder than other folks? That is not then a mental disorder. That's a difference. That's a difference. And that's something we're going to have to live with our whole life long. That sadness may have been misunderstood by middle-aged folks. It may not be sadness. It might be intelligence.
Yeah.
It might be the ability to see through. There are people born, come out of the womb stubborn and smart, and they look at their parents and they go, who are these people? And why are they saying these silly things? I can see right through them. And why do I have to go to school? What am I supposed to sit there and learn about the California missions or whatever it is I'm supposed to learn about? So if you start out early in life already saying, see through this. I don't know where to go with seeing through it, but I see through it. One famous actor said, I saw through things when I sat there drinking ink. This was in the day of inkwell.
Right.
You know, I didn't know what to do with myself, so I sat there drinking ink, just being sad and restless and ADHD.
Right.
I mean, naturally restless, because who would want to sit there?
Right.
So if you can see through things, you're naturally going to be sadder than the next person, both by virtue of what you see through and by virtue of the fact that you don't know where to land.
Right.
Everybody else has these enthusiasms about the next ball game or the next movie or the next this or the next shopping spree, and you don't know where to land because you're seeing through all of that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If you're joining us just now and you're thinking, gosh, I'm thinking I might be a smart person because I'm feeling some of the things you're talking about. Why Smart People Hurt is Eric Maisel's new book title. He's with us, joining us this hour. We know we've got your questions. We're going to get to those in just a minute. Eric has been going down the line talking about some of the special or unique challenges that smart people have. For more information, whether or not you fit into that category, you just want to get a copy of the book for sure. You can check out Eric's website. For more information, go to his website, ericmaisel.com, ERICMAISEL.com. Let your fingers do the walking while you're joining us here. We're streaming live as well. So moving forward, Eric, from the context of, let's say you're pretty clear, you're one of these smart people, or you know someone who is, one of the things that this is not talking about is the idea that there is a hierarchy of intellect here. You're talking about something very much more complex than that, you know.
Right. I think there's a natural distribution of intelligence, like there's a natural distribution of height or a natural distribution of many things.
Right.
But I'm certainly not getting into any of the intelligence debates about what IQ tests measure or multiple intelligences or what have you. Just that there's whatever it makes sense to think, 15, 20, 25% of the population who will have naturally distributed over to one side of a curve, and will face some of these problems. But let's just picture that for a second. Let's say you've naturally distributed over to one side of a curve, but you're not all the way out at the edge of that curve, so you're not the super genius. You're just a smart person. Well, that provokes one of the challenges that I mentioned in the book, and that's what I call the smart gap. And that is the challenge of not being as smart as the work requires, the work that you need to do in life. If you're an average physicist, you may not have the sufficient requisite intelligence to make those breakthroughs that you are living for. It's very poignant. There isn't an answer to this one. It's not like take a pill and you get smarter,
Right.
or if you try harder, you can be Einstein. It's not. It's more poignant than that. It's human beings have the ability to set themselves up with work that they can't then accomplish. The work may require more brain power than they have. I'm going to have to very soon at the end of that sentence put a period, because there's nothing to do about that, except, of course, the things we could commonsensically say, and that is change your picture of the work you're going to do.
Right.
Find some other. Let's say you really can't make a breakthrough in physics, but you actually love physics, and you could see how to popularize physics, and we know how much many people love popular science books.
Yes.
Maybe you change your mind about what's meaningful to you. You change your life project from figuring out a unified theory to writing a beautiful popular book about an aspect of physics. You talk yourself back from the problem of the smart gap, and you figure out new work that more aligns with the brain you have.
Right, which is a kind of discipline that I know a lot of you out there hate the D word. We'll call it devotion. That's what Eric likes to call it. I've adopted that word from him for years now. You can be in devotion to organizing the way that you think. And if you don't like it, you can have your crap back, I promise. That crazy kind of manic thinking, no one's trying to stop you from having what you've got. If you've got a cobweb for a mind. Here's the thing. These principles over the years that I've been practicing them, they really do make a difference, whether you're on the intelligent end of the spectrum of genius to just being an above average smart person. I can attest to the fact that most people that I know who've applied Eric's principles really do find that they gain some momentum, they clear out the unnecessary kinds of thinking, and start to focus on the productive kinds of thinking, the mania, the kind of obsessions that are fun and worthwhile. And on that note, Eric, one of my favorite chapters in the book, let's jump over to, which is the next chapter after the gap, the thinking gap, the smart gap rather, is the thinking anxiety. I love this chapter. Honestly, it had sent me off into the kind of, I wanted to create a banner and run around downtown wherever I live, right, and say, oh my God, these are 7 things we do, and they're amazing, and I forced my poor husband to read this chapter and so forth. Talk a little bit about this thinking anxiety. I think this is brilliant and really groundbreaking information for a lot of people.
Well, I don't have the 7 points in front of me. I can do a generalization, but if you'd like me to go down them, you can read them to me.
Okay, well, here's the first one is we'll give context for anxiety thinking, and then I'll take you, the first one is we flee the encounter. But let's talk about what is anxiety thinking, because this is a brilliant thought. When we come back after the break, we're going to take you through that, and towards the top of the hour. We're going to be right back after these messages. Eric Maisel is in the house. We're talking about why smart people hurt. Get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after these messages. Now, for those of us behind the scene, and we're going to kind of blow through this, we've got several questions we'll try to get to at the last portion. We'll blow through those. But here's the thing about this anxiety thinking that I really loved, Eric, and I'm loving, is this, I call them the lies I tell myself. You have better names for each of these points of consternation and frustration for people. But basically what I feel like you're inviting us to do, and we'll go down the list.
I've got it in front of me now.
Yeah, good. We definitely BS ourselves, and we've become very good at it. But your reason for why we do that is just so brilliant. We're just frightened, and we are a culture that is afraid of being uncomfortable. We just don't like it. And quite frankly, again and again, people are rising and coming forward saying, you know what, that's just tough. Now, we need to get a little thicker skin if we want to accomplish our goals, our dreams, and make them happen. We watch too much TV with that magical thinking, and you talk about that in the book, but this chapter really speaks to that for me. It goes right into the belly of the beast. So let's breeze through this, and go ahead and start. I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Should we do it now? Right?
Yeah, let's do it now, and then we can sort of go backwards to go forwards, and then take our listener questions real quick.
The headline is that the activity of thinking provokes anxiety. That's the headline. The activity of thinking provokes anxiety. Anybody who's taken a certain kind of test that maybe was a little bit beyond them, or that they were equal to, they sat there with one of those math problems or what have you, and if there wasn't a test environment, they would never sit there in a million years. They would never make themselves try to figure out the answer to that kind of problem because the anxiety just wells up too strongly. There it's called test anxiety, but it's really the anxiety of thinking.
Yeah.
And so, to run down some of the things we do to avoid the experience of anxiety, and I think this is what you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Where you're going with fleeing the encounter.
We're coming back. Eric loves that. He loves to be just stopped right in the middle of a brilliant thought. Don't you? We love it. Right here on Maryanne Live. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. Eric Maisel is in the house. We're talking about the anxiety that's associated with thinking, and Eric is just about to launch into all the lies we tell ourselves, I call them, but really the mechanism of anxiety that's associated with having thoughts and thinking. And it's formerly known as test anxiety. But go ahead. Continue on, Eric.
Yeah, what I was saying was the activity of thinking provokes anxiety. Since except in test situations and some other situations we don't actually have to think, we can avoid the experience of anxiety by fleeing the encounter. And that's what most human beings do. If you're afraid of something, if you're afraid of flying, you stay away from the airport. If you're afraid of thinking, you stay away from thinking. It's that simple.
Yeah. Give us an example. Give me an example, though. Why would I be afraid to think of something?
Let's say in your culture it's not a good idea to leave your husband, but you want to. So the activity there of thinking through the consequences of actually leaving him, where you might have to go, what people might have to say to you, etc., etc.
Right, got it.
Every life problem requires you to think it through.
Right.
So rather than think it through, we flee the thinking and we impulsively, so we go have an affair, or we go 5,000 miles, we do something other than think it through. Not a good idea, people. We need to think it through. But what that means is we need some anxiety management techniques that work for us, or else we're not going to think it through.
That's a great point.
So, and there are maybe 15 categories of anxiety management techniques. I can't run them all, but there are things like breathing and thinking, certain calming thoughts, and guided visualizations, and rehearsal techniques. And we could name them all. They're very straightforward. Most people don't own a single anxiety management technique. They may have read about them, they love the idea, but they don't own one. So if you want to think more or think better or actually work through your problems via thinking, you're going to need one of these anxiety management strategies.
Beautiful. And you are just the person for us to get them from. Check out Eric Maisel's site. He has devoted his entire life to helping you think better, to discipline your creative mind, you extra smart people, you. And that means you. Yes, I know you were thinking, oh, you're not talking about me. Well, we've got some questions from people who think they might not be so smart. Here, David in Berkeley says, I've always been, here's another one. There's somebody in Southern California. I never thought I was smart. Everybody's always told me dumb blonde jokes, like I should be able to know I was one. I'm coming to realize I'm really a lot smarter than most people. How do I break other people's images of me without dyeing my hair brown? Great question. Lauren in Southern California wants to know. Thanks, Lauren.
We both have the same answer, which is, who cares about them?
Right.
The real answer is to return to our own strengths. If you are engaged in the project of your life, you've identified your meaning opportunities, your life purposes, well, you have stuff to do in life. It doesn't allow for any time to care about what other people are saying. So you have to identify the real work you're doing. Let me give you the quickest kind of analogy. In the days before D-Day, we don't care what anybody's saying about Eisenhower or to him. We don't care what mood he's in. We don't care if he's happy or irritated. We need him to make the invasion work.
Yeah, yeah.
That's his meaning project at that moment, is to make the invasion work. We need to make our invasions work.
Yeah.
We need our projects to feel like that. And if we're living that way, we don't care what people are saying.
Right. And, you know, you're someone who is very confident in yourself and has an intact sort of ego and, you know, your life, you've done a lot of work on yourself. And there's a lot of folks out there who were inspired by that and working very hard to find that kind of a structure. Let's talk to, because some of the other questions really speak to this. I'm a relational creature, and that's my thing, and I have a big investment in my relationships, and what other people think about me is very important to me, Eric. They're thinking, I can hear them. You know, how do I navigate and keep on track for what's important to me, being an extra smart person, at the same time, you know, sussing out relationships issues that are taking me off track? Can you speak to this in general, or is this too vague of a question?
No, well, I can give a vague general answer.
Okay. Yeah, do it.
Which is adopt a recovery model. Adopt a 12-step model.
There we go.
Straight forward.
Straight up.
First things first. What are my triggers? If these friends trigger sort of my stupidity, my worst behaviors, I shouldn't be with them.
I love it.
So there's plenty to take out of 12-step programs in the recovery model as to how to heal and how to grow.
Brilliant. I love it. It's very straight up, straightforward, which is what we love about Eric Maisel. We're coming up to the top of the hour. Eric, can you believe it? We're already here. And I have my little sumo wrestler lady, Moon Goddess, who has to say hi to everyone. What do we want to leave folks with? The smart people out there that really are hurting, aside from getting your book, which they're going to do straight away, what do we want to say to them? The top of the hour here.
Maybe not so much about smartness, but maybe the other headlines about one doesn't really have life purposes until you choose them. And so there's an activity of choosing your life purpose, knowing for yourself, maybe even creating the life purpose icon that's as powerful as a Star of David or a Christian cross, something that's your idiosyncratic way of reminding yourself of how you need to represent yourself in life. And from that, from those icons and those life purpose statements and those mantras and what have you, then you begin to make use of that native intelligence in ways that make yourself proud.
Wow, that's powerful. I think that's a whole workshop right there. That's really beautiful advice. And if you want more information on how to do that, having Eric help you do that, you can read one of any of his 40 books, and it will give you some idea. The one we're talking about today, Why Smart People Hurt, is available wherever fine books are sold, on Amazon.com, as well as going to Eric's site, ericmaisel.com. That's ERICMAISEL.com. Eric, are you doing a book tour with this book?
I'm not, because I'm almost ready for the next, which is Life Purpose Boot Camp, which comes out in October.
Yay, because you know you're coming back to talk about that. Who does not want to know what their life purpose is? And the rest of you are thinking, because you said that a couple of times on the show and my ears perked up. We've been waiting for this book to come forward.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us, Eric. It's always a delight and a privilege to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you betcha. And everybody else, you sit tight. We're going to go to break here in just a minute. For more information on Eric Maisel, I told you can check out his website, ericmaisel.com. And Eric, parting words as you launch off into the next part of your, I know we came to the top of the hour, but any sort of anecdotal little tip you want to give folks as you sign out here?
Small tip, rather than worrying about being happy, make yourself proud.
Beautiful. Say it again, please.
Rather than worrying about being happy, make yourself proud.
We're going to go do that right now. I love it. I just heard my producer groan in the background, and she loved it. All right, Eric, we love you. We will see you back in October, and can't wait to read your new book.
Take care now.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Take care. Blessings to you. All right, everybody who's joined us here on Maryanne Live, you know you can be our friend on Facebook, which I'm going to put up here for those of you who are watching me stream. We love when you tune in and join us on Facebook and send in your likes and your, it says, see All is inside our own head. Isn't this really great? My husband just sent me something really beautiful. My cat, a picture of my cat. You get to see that if you go on my Facebook page, don't you know? Be our friends. Join us again and again next week. You're going to be joining us here. Same new time, 2 p.m., and we will be streaming live as well with our guest coming up next week right here on Maryanne Live. We will be delighted to talk with Wendy Aronson, talking about refeathering the empty nest. All you empty nesters, join us here on Maryanne Live next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Blessings.
All right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. My husband sent me the funniest video of a cat on one of those carpet cleaners that move around the floor.
Uh-huh.
You know, have you seen this video? It's hilarious. I'm
Yeah.
You do. Well, thank you, Jay, and I love our new time, and yeah, we'll see you next week, same time, same place, same bat channel.
All right, I have a schedule for one.
Oh, yeah, Thursday. Sorry, pre-record on Thursday. You're right. So we'll talk to you on Thursday.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. So I'm trying to show anybody left who's streaming with us this cat who is skating along. This is hilarious. But we can't see it, so we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Maryanne Live. We're so glad that you are streaming live with us. We love that you do. You'll join us next week. Wendy Aronson is in the house refeathering an empty nest. All you empty nesters out there. I don't know, maybe the nest, one of the birds flew back in. Who knows? We'll be talking about that as well. One of our birds flew back in from college, and empty nest or not, if you're about to be an empty nester, if you have been an empty nester, if you know someone, this is the place for you to be. 2 p.m. Pacific time on Maryanne Live. See you then. Take good care.